Welcome to this special edition of Monday Night Football. My name is Craig Leach and I'm joined by my fellow Hibs fan Connor Heaney.
Hello.
And today we've got a very special interview for you. We're interviewing former Hibernian midfielder and current Raith Rovers star, Scott Robertson. Thank you very much for giving up the time and joining us, Scott.
No problem, guys. Glad to join you.
Okay, so obviously you started your career at Dundee. What sort of age did you start playing boys club football, and when did you find out that football was going to be a career for you?
I started playing probably a similar age to most people, 6, 7. Just started playing with my friends, and then my neighbour started up a team, and I joined there and played Sunday League for 6 years, and that's when Dundee picked me up at the age of 12.
Were you always sure you were going to be a midfielder, or did you start in maybe a different position and move your way forwards or backwards? Or?
Yeah, like most kids want to be the goal scorers and the strikers, and I was for 6 years at Sunday League. But then once I got into the proper coaching and things, I think my attributes were more suited to being a midfielder, fitness wise and positionally probably disciplined. So once I got the coaching side of it into me, then that's where I kind of fell back the pitch. I ended up at right back actually. But then I think people realised that was probably better suited to midfield.
So what age was it that Dundee picked you up?
Well, I was training with both Dundee and Dundee United one night a week back in, obviously, when I was 12. And that's when I had the choice between the two clubs. Dundee were probably more forceful in wanting me to sign for them, and because I was a supporter of the club, it wasn't hard for me to say I wanted to go with them.
Okay, so you had a pretty successful spell at Dundee, and then you obviously made that across the city divide to Dundee United. How difficult was that for you, especially being a supporter of the club, to obviously leave and join your city rivals?
It was a difficult decision. I felt really guilty because being a supporter and having, I know I never played a major part with Dundee when we got relegated. I only made so many sub-appearances, I think one start in the league, but I still felt like I owed the club to get back in the Premier League. But I gave it 3 attempts in that league, 3 full seasons in the first division, and I felt like with what I knew was going on with other players leaving as well, I thought it was going to be even harder that next season. So in my opinion, I thought it was best for me, if I wanted to play in the SPL, was to move on, and Dundee United were really keen on getting me in. So that was the main reason that I left.
Was it Craig Levine that took you to Dundee United?
It was, yeah.
How much of an impact did he have on your career, especially after he took you, considering you did go on to gain full international recognition after that?
Yeah, I don't know how many people know it, but whilst Craig was at Hearts, he tried to sign me there, and then he moved on to Leicester, and he tried to sign me there as well.
So in the case of third time lucky then?
Yeah, that's true. We finally managed to work together, and I can honestly say that I don't think I've played better than that first season with Dundee United. It was cut short with injury, but that's the reason I managed to get international recognition, was because how well it started for me there, and the players that I was playing with were great, and the manager got everybody in great fitness, and we all clicked well, and everybody knew what they were doing. It was just enjoyable every single game, and the training session was great. The fitness, I just felt like it was almost unstoppable.
Yeah, so that injury that you suffered, was up in 2009, was it?
Well, it started at the end of 2008, but continued into 2010. It was an absolute disaster period for me.
How much of that, how was your career ever in jeopardy in that period with the type of injury that you'd suffered?
In my mind, it was. Yeah, I went through periods where I started thinking, what am I going to start doing here? Because my contract was running down and I hadn't played in so long, and I was thinking, am I ever going to get back from this? And I was genuinely thinking, I don't think I'm going to be, if I am getting back from this, I'm not going to be playing at the same level I was. And I really did think that my career was in jeopardy, yeah.
So how much did it mean to you when you came out of that spell of injury to end up with a Scottish Cup winners medal? That was
an unbelievable roller coaster, because again I thought I required another surgery. In my mind the pain was still there, and I was told about different treatments, and jawline was the reason I had sore groins, and my back was the problem, and basically I was getting told lots of different things from different people, and in my mind I wasn't going to be playing again that season. But slowly towards the end of that season, I was getting back involved in training, and Peter Houston was great with me. He said, look, don't do anything you're not comfortable with, and very slowly I got back towards the first team squads, and I got involved in it, and somehow I managed to get myself on the bench for the final, and it was an amazing celebration to be able to say that you've won a Scottish Cup.
Because Dundee United also finished third that year. Like, how good was that team? How good a team was that to be involved in?
We often talk about, Hibs fans look back to that period when we had sort of Derek Raglan, Gary O'Connor, Scott Brown. Hearts look at that season where they, challenged for a bit when George Burley was there. How, without going into too much detail, how good could that Dundee United side have been if it stayed together? If the full squad had stayed together, maybe 1-2 seasons more.
Very good, yeah. I mean, I think slowly over that time period the squad was depleted, bits and pieces, boys left, obviously transfer fees and other contracts ran down, but I think looking to the way some boys' careers have developed, like say mine's included, if that squad of players, that main core, had stayed together, then there's no question it could have been challenging for higher up the league and domestic cups on a regular basis.
Do you think teams like Dundee United and Hibs will ever learn this lesson? This seems to happen quite a lot, where you've got the nucleus of a fantastic squad. Everyone's saying if we could just hang on for another year, and it always seems to be, because it's happened to Dundee United again, in recent years.
I think it's just almost the nature of football these days, where if someone is attracting attention for doing so well, then it's almost destined that somebody's going to come in and be attracted to them, and the call of higher level, obviously the bigger wages and the glamour of leagues elsewhere, then it is appealing to players. And the reason I left was to challenge myself and try something different. And like I say, I'm sure everybody else that's left is of the same opinion, that they can say that honestly left because they wanted to try something fresh and new, a new challenge, and like myself, that's the reason for doing it.
Yeah, so you left Dundee United and went to Blackpool.
Mm-hmm.
What was it? I'm guessing there would have been several clubs that were in for you at that point. What was it about Blackpool that attracted you down to the Championship, and specifically Blackpool themselves?
Well, the manager was a big thing for getting me in there. He spoke quite highly, and he said the way he wanted to play football was something exciting, and it wasn't too far from home for my wife if she wasn't settled, sort of thing. So it seemed like it was quite a not too big a jump, with both feet. But the way it turned out, it was a bit of a disaster as well. So it wasn't a great period in my career.
So is there anything that you could sort of pinpoint why it didn't go well for you at Blackpool? Because I know that you only made one appearance. Was that in the League Cup?
No, that was in the league.
In the league, sorry.
It was in the league. No,
you made one appearance in the league. What was it that? Could you really put your finger on what it was that went wrong at Blackpool? Why, it was only, in the sort of 6 to 8 months that you were there, you only ever made one appearance?
No, that's right. I only made the one appearance. I was in a lot of squads, was on the bench a lot, never featured from the bench, but I could honestly say the squad at Blackpool at that time was enormous. I think there was a squad of 50 players, 10 central midfielders, all of a high calibre as well. You've got the Barry Ferguson, players like that, boys that play for Barcelona and the La Liga and stuff. I mean, I was up against some tough opposition, so I could probably honestly hold my hands up and say that I probably wasn't as good as them. I probably didn't deserve to play, and having wherever I've been in my career before that, having played basically week in, week out, I wasn't prepared to stay around and basically take my wages, and I wanted out because I spoke to the manager when I was in there and said, look, this was in the September or October when I realised that I wasn't playing. I asked him to go on loan, and he wasn't having it. He didn't want me to go on loan, so I wasn't prepared to sit about and not play, because I say I'm a football player, I'm not a football watcher. So
I always find that a bit, as a fan, it's a bit perplexing when you see a player that's clearly not getting involved in the side. Somebody like yourself, you want to go out and play football, yet the manager doesn't want you to go, yet he won't involve you in the first team. Is that something that at the time you can sort of struggle to get your head around the fact that you want to play football, you're not willing to sit around, like you say, collect your wages, you're a player, not a watcher, but then the manager doesn't seem to let you go. Does that sort of fill you with confidence at the time that, maybe a few weeks down the line I'll get my chance, or does it sort of leave your mind a bit, well, you don't really know whether you're coming or going.
It did, yeah. It was like I say, it was the first time it had happened really to me in my career, so it was all new. I think it was a little bit naive going into that scenario. I had a face-to-face with the manager at the time, and I asked him about going on loan, and he said, no, just be patient. And I did have to be very patient until I got my one appearance. But when my one appearance came, he also gave 8 other players a chance. So I wasn't walking into a team that was settled, a structure. It was everybody getting their chance in the one game. And we lost 3-0 away to Cardiff, so it never went well, obviously. So then I was sitting there saying I never played well and stuff, but then the factors with everybody else coming into the team, nowadays I would look at that and say, well, that never helped. But at the time I was sitting going, I never played well, and I was getting inside my own head and thinking that it was more down to me, but I'm thinking maybe that there was other factors that contributed towards it.
So then obviously you did leave Blackpool. Did you leave Blackpool long before you joined Hibs? Like, were you sort of...
No, it was literally a sign off with Blackpool and sign on with Hibs.
So how did the move to Hibs come about? Because I know Pat Fenlon was the manager at the time.
That's right, yeah.
And we had, we went through a spell where all we seemed to sign was centre midfielders. There was a period in the squad where, it was...
Yeah.
It was centre midfielder.
Yeah, I was one of them, yeah.
Centre midfielder. So how... Was it only Hibs that you had the option to go to, or was there other teams that were interested in you at that time?
Well, Pat Fenlon was actually wanting me to sign for him in the summer before he went to Blackpool. So I think he might have been keeping tabs on how it was going with me down there. So when the chance for me to sign for him came back up, then he got me in the January transfer window. So I don't think because I was under contract there were too many other clubs interested, but because he knew I was looking to get out of there, the move was back on.
What were your first impressions of Hibs when you joined? Like, were you obviously quite relieved to be playing football again? But what were your first impressions of the club and the atmosphere and of Pat Fenlon as a manager?
Yeah, well, my initial impressions from the outside when I was playing against Hibernia was that it was a big club, amazing stadium. I heard all about the training ground, good players. And whilst I was down at Blackpool, I think the club were almost top of the league by Christmas. Then I joined, and we seemed to plummet that season. I think we ended up finishing 7th, is that right?
That's right. That was actually, by Hibs' recent standards, that was actually a decent season.
Yeah,
sort of
with
Pat Fenlon's only real full season in charge.
Yeah.
We got to the Scottish Cup final and so forth. So
yeah.
Was that, by Hibs' low standards these days, that was actually an alright one. But that brings us on to one of your more notable first appearances with Hibs when we were in the infamous 4-3 game against Falkirk at Hampden, and unfortunately you were subbed off in the first half.
Deservedly so.
A lot of Hibs fans, I mean me included, just think that's the most crazy game I've ever been to.
Yeah.
And it was just what a roller coaster of emotions. What were you thinking as you got subbed off, and also as you watched the rest of the game pan out?
Well, going into the game, everybody said that we were favourites because we were a league above, and obviously we were playing against Falkirk, who really fancied their chances, some good youngsters, etc. So I think it was hard for some of us to grasp the whole favourites tag. But I think the mentality should have been going into it was to be solid, but we tried to play football a bit, and they were all over the top of us for the first 45 minutes, and they were a better team. They deserved to be 3, if not 4-0 up. And my recollection of it was that it was an absolute disaster, obviously, the first half. But going 1-0 down, I had a pretty amazing chance to equalise, and I don't even think I put it out for a goal kick. I think I ended up going out for a throw-in. So
I remember it.
I was quite rightly subbed off. I've got to hold my hands up and say it was a terrible performance for me.
I have to say, I've never seen a player look so gutted as you did when you got subbed off that day. I think people really felt for you afterwards. Watching the highlights, and at the end of that first half, I mean, a lot of Hibs fans went home, but things turned around. Were you present during the half-time team talk?
What was the whole atmosphere like in the team at half-time? Was there a genuine belief that if we can get an early goal, we can get our way back into the game?
There was. I mean, obviously it couldn't have gone a lot worse in the first half. But Liam was pretty angry. He was distraught. He was embarrassed, like everybody was. But he was the one saying it and really angry and saying what he felt. I can't remember too much of the players saying much of anything, to be honest. Obviously I was personally embarrassed and distraught for my performance and the way the game was going, and I couldn't do anything about it anymore. I'd had my chance. So the second half started, and like you say, we got that early goal, and it was quite remarkable, really. I think, like I said, with Falkirk being all over us in the first half, they almost used all the energy they had, and with us making positive changes, we managed to scrape ourselves back in. I think mainly through Lee Griffiths, but obviously everybody else contributed as well. Danny Hanlon winning the penalty, and obviously Alex Harris smacking one in the top corner. So it was an amazing turnaround. It really was.
It was quite funny at the end of that game to see Pat Fenlon, lapping up the applause in the corner with Lee Griffiths, and a few people were chuckling like this is a man that was probably 45 minutes away from losing his job.
Yeah.
And, a couple of fantastic individual performances have turned it around. But
yeah,
what were your impressions of Pat Fenlon as a manager when he eventually did go? Like, what were your impressions of his reign at Hibs in general?
Well, I only worked with him from January till the October, so 9 months. I was quite happy with Pat. Yeah, he allowed you freedom to express yourself. He was quite quiet as a manager, but sometimes that's a good way to be. He had the loud assistant with Liam O'Brien. Sometimes you need that balance, and I was very surprised when he left. I really was. I know there was obviously another low point with the Derby defeat in the cup, but I honestly thought that was probably our best performance that night.
Well, the first
you hit the bar that night, didn't you? Jamie McDonald was like,
and
like an octopus. He was everywhere, stopping
and
everything.
Hanlon hit the post, and McPake had one cleared off the line.
And then they go up the park and shot from nowhere.
It did seem to be the story of the derbies through that period.
Because you played in the 2-1 game that we won at Tynecastle when Lee
that's right,
and
Ross
scored the free kick.
Ross Caldwell, yeah.
Did you, because I remember I was at Tynecastle that day, but when you watch the highlights back, there was, when we got the winner, Lee Griffiths had closed down Jamie Hamill and got a throw in. We got the throw in, and you actually had the ball, and you played the ball into Ross Caldwell. And Danny Wilson, I think it was, absolutely cleaned you out. Were you thinking that we might have got a penalty?
You know what, I really wasn't. If Ross had been tackled or if the ball had stopped, then I would have been thinking maybe. But obviously, just took a great touch and then a fantastic finish, and then obviously that was wild scenes then, and that end of Tynecastle.
I think that ended up about 10 rows ahead and 2 sections to the left. I think
that was a late winner, wasn't it?
That was like the last kick of the ball, and I think everybody, because the celebration was that Ross sort of just stood there.
And I started chasing him,
like Eric Cantona,
everybody just sort of
piled on
the
top.
players piled on that.
I remember getting crushed at the bottom of that, actually.
And we, obviously, all the fans just wanted to be as close to that. Is that, would you say that sort of, that maybe 30 seconds to see Ross score the goal, and then the celebrations for the players and the fans, is that one of your particular highlights?
Winning any derby, really. It'd be great for me to have scored one, but to have had an assist in the winner at Tynecastle was pretty special as well.
So obviously going at the end of that season, obviously we got beaten off Celtic in the cup final. There was, every Hibs fans heard all these rumours about would Lee Griffiths stay, would Lee Griffiths go, and then obviously Liam O'Brien left in that summer as well. Jimmy Nicholl came in to replace him. Did you? So obviously the players that came in, Rowan Vine signed and James Collins signed. Do you think that due to the success that Lee Griffiths had with Hibs the season before, do you think there was always going to be an inevitable slump when Lee left? Because obviously there was times during that season where he pulled us out of some tricky situations.
Absolutely,
he's the first. He almost got 30 goals, which for Hibs, but even Derek Rowden never managed to get that. Do you think there was always going to be that slump once we couldn't? Because I'm not going to bash James Collins or Rowan Vine, but they weren't up to the standard that Lee had set the season before.
I think Lee is a top quality player, and for Hibs he produced his absolute best season he's ever had, and since even. So he deserves a major credit for that, and he's gone on obviously to a higher level. But when you lose players like that, it is so hard to try and replace obviously the goals he scored, but obviously what else he brought to the team with his passion for the club, and it is really hard to try and find that exact same player. I know the club spent money on James, and even that put extra pressure on him, and then the fact that if he came in with Lee Griffiths, they might have combined really well. but obviously it didn't go quite so well for James, and it's just a shame that the way things worked out, obviously, for him personally, and then obviously the club in that whole season.
So that season started off with a pretty memorable Europa League campaign. What can you just put your finger on what went wrong for us over those two legs against Malmo? I know in the first leg Rowan Vine hit the post and was extremely close. Obviously there was a lot going on at the club where that game against Malmo, one of the famous, the last remaining member of the famous five, Laurie Riley, had just passed away.
Right, yeah.
And there was quite an emotional atmosphere at Easter Road that night, and then we just proceeded to get absolutely torn apart. Can you put your finger on what it was that went wrong in the second leg in particular?
Yeah, I think the first leg had a big factor in it because we'd only lost the first leg 2-0. It could have been more over there. I know we could have scored ourselves, but I mean, they had another couple of chances that could have made it maybe 3 or 4. And if it had been maybe a scoreline like that, we might have went a little bit more defensive. Whereas I think we started that game, we were going for them. I think in the first 15-20 minutes until they scored, it wasn't looking too bad. And then they got the goal, and then we never really changed anything. We still sort of tried to play to play our game rather than just sit and going, right, okay, we're 3-0 down in a European leg here, maybe just try and shut up shop and try and just maybe get to half time and then regroup, but we kept going for it. And then obviously I think James McPake had to come off with his back, and then there was a couple of personal mistakes on the night that you can't legislate for, and it ended up obviously another high scoreline.
Well, it was one of those games where it just seemed to be that everything Malmo hit.
I think we only had 8 shots in the game and they scored 7 goals. That's the kind of night it was. I think that's the only game I've been involved in, but I've seen plenty of games like that where we never created much on the night, but I mean, I'd like to think that at least 50% of the chances the other team have, they don't score, but they did that night.
Well, that game sort of kicked off. The next sort of big result we had was the League Cup against Hearts. Like we've already touched on, we had so many chances. I think that if you look across the whole of that season, that sort of 15-20 minute spell, maybe even, half an hour spell, is probably the best football we played that season. We absolutely battered Hearts in the first half, and yourself, you had the chance that Jamie McDonald somehow tipped onto the bar. James McPake had one cleared off the line, Paul Hanlon hit the post. And obviously that game led to Pat Fenlon resigning.
That's right, yeah.
I know you said that you were extremely, players obviously have more of an inkling than fans when managers go. There was a lot of pressure on Pat from the fans to go. Do you think that the fans should have maybe laid off him a wee bit? I know some say that Pat was responsible for, he was there when we got beat off Hearts in the cup final.
Yeah.
Following season we got beat off in the cup final. We then lost to Malmo by that scoreline as well. But do you think that the fans should have maybe laid off him a bit and realised that we were still, like you say, when you lose a player of Lee Griffiths' quality, it's extremely difficult to replace. Obviously James Collins comes in for a fee that, if you ask one person it's a certain amount, if you ask another person it's another amount. Trying to replace somebody like Lee Griffiths as well, do you think the fans should have maybe laid off him a bit and realised that where we were when he came in, we undoubtedly were in a better position? Do you think that the fans should have maybe just sat back a wee bit, maybe waited until January and seen who we could have got in?
I think it's very easy for me to sit here and say that yes, they should have. When you're getting beat from your rivals in a cup final and when you're losing 9-0 in aggregate in Europe, because I think the round before, am I right in saying that Malmo only won 1-0 or 2-0 against the part-time Irish team? Yeah. So when you're getting fixtures and results like that, it's very difficult for fans to show patience. But like you've already just said, that the club, from when Pat joined to that situation when he ended up leaving, the club was in a better position. But when things like that happen, it's very hard because the manager's in charge. He must feel the same as the players and the fans, with the embarrassment, obviously the scorelines and the hurt to your pride. Nobody wants to be involved in games like that. You want to be involved in wins and derby wins and cup wins. And, it's so hard for me to sit here and defend those results, because I was part of obviously the Malmos and the derby defeats and stuff. But
we always say that Pat Fenley would have been fine if he'd never had to play in a cup game, because actually in the league we were all right, we were mid-table, but it's just these high-profile, embarrassing scorelines where it's downfall.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I mean, he managed to get to 2 cup finals in 2 attempts.
Yeah.
So it was almost like a victim of his own success. But
that's the thing, though. We say Hibs are a good cup team. Hibs are a great cup team.
Yeah, we always get to Hampden.
We're just not a very good cup final team.
Don't win the cup, but you get good cup runs, but obviously at the end of them you want the cup. So it's the fans. They're very passionate, Hibs fans. After that derby defeat in the cup, I was very surprised as well about the reaction we got. Obviously we got beaten, which is the main thing. We could have played rubbish and won and been heroes, but we were beaten and we were out of the cup to Hearts, which isn't acceptable. But I know one of my teammates had a glass bottle put under his tyre outside the stadium. People were spitting at us and stuff, and it was a majorly, I felt, overreaction. So if we'd been beaten and trounced from Hearts, then maybe you could understand people reacting like that. But the fact that I thought we were the better team for the whole game, and
I think another thing to remember about that season is that we, as Hibs fans, this sounds really immature, but we were quite enjoying Hearts' financial problems at the time. We were looking forward to, here we go, 4 or 5 derby wins this year. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's
not what
happened. So I think a lot of the fans reacted badly to that loss in the cup.
No, absolutely, of course, because we all felt the same. We all felt like going into that game. Pat Fenley's team talk before that game was, he got us right up for it because he felt it smelt blood, sort of thing. And, I think that's why we came out the traps for the first half hour and done everything we possibly could to win that game.
Just bemusement at the time, what
absolutely, it was totally bizarre because we felt we played better and we had all the chances. And once chance goes, you're thinking, right, we'll get another one. We'll take it this time. We'll get another one, and then obviously they score that goal. And, it was a great goal from Ryan Stevenson, but it's just one of those things you just can't explain. You just keep getting chance after chance. And, but Pat Fenley before that game was proper angry man and really determined, and he really wanted that win. I don't know if it was in his mind about resigning the next day, win or lose, or what, but obviously the next day when he did resign, that was when I was completely shocked.
Well, I think there was something he'd said that because we'd got beaten at the weekend previously.
That's right.
I think it might have been Kilmarnock. I'm not 100% sure on that, and I'm sure something came out after. When Pat eventually did leave, they gave his sort of interviews after. He said that he'd made up his mind to go after that game, regardless of what the result had been against Hearts. So obviously Pat did end up leaving the club. Do you want to take that? No? So Pat did end up leaving the club. There was a lot of rumours about who was going to come in. And for very early on, a favourite from the Hibs support was Terry Butcher. He then had Inverness a weekend or two after, when Terry was in the stand. He was still technically Inverness manager, but Maurice Malpass was in the dugout, and we ended up getting trounced 3-0.
That's right.
Was when the team did hear the news of Pat going, was there anyone that stood out? As a squad, because obviously you would have spoken about it. Was there anyone that you, as a team, or you yourself, would have liked to have seen come in, or was Terry Butcher pretty much the number one choice?
No, I can't. Going back to that time, 2 years ago, I can't remember the squad even talking about a possible candidate or people saying, I really hope some so-and-so comes in. I can't go back to that point and say that, no. Obviously, when the rumours were going about that Terry was going to be taking the job, then I think Big Owen Tudor-Jones had worked with him previously at Inverness, and he obviously had worked with him in the past, and he said what training's like and what way he'd want to play and stuff, so we had a bit of prior knowledge to him coming in, what it was going to be like.
Yeah, so that obviously Terry Butcher does come in. We start quite well. He got 3 wins on the bounce, one of them which was a derby win at Easter Road. James Collins scored, Hearts equalised, and then Liam Craig tucked away a penalty. And then it seemed as if, after that game we were 6th in the league, looking at tops. In the top 6, looking to push on higher. We'd seen what Terry Butcher had done with Inverness. You know, they'd went down. They were pretty much already going down before he took over, though. You know, they came back up, and then they just sort of to go from strength to strength. You know, players like Billy Mackay scoring week in, week out.
Yeah.
You know, then we get to January and we're looking to strengthen the team. You know, and then it's from a fan's perspective, it was pretty underwhelming. You know, we'd heard all these rumours about who could be coming in. We got 3 loan signings. You know, 2 of which we've seen a couple of times. Another one that was in the squad got sent off, came back in, got injured. Danny Haynes, that was. You know, we were 13 points ahead of Ross County, who were 11 after that Hearts victory. What was it that sort of, you know, did you see a decline coming before it actually happened?
You know what? Nope. You talk about those 3 wins. Even after that, we went to Tannadice and we were 2-0 up with, I think, 10 minutes to go. We ended up drawing that game 2-2. Went up to Pataudry, and it was 0-0 until the 91st, 2nd, 3rd minute. I don't know what it was when Willow Flood hit that strike, and we felt like we deserved something, a win from the United game and a point at least from the Aberdeen game. And they two were, I think, at that time sitting 2nd and 3rd, or 3rd and 4th. So they're teams that were in the top 6, and we were challenging them, we were matching them. So things were going okay. And then I can't remember the run of results after that, but I picked up a bad knee injury around about that period. I think it was in the middle of February, which is probably why I don't remember the fixtures too well. But it was just bizarre, the run of events that led to obviously relegation in the end.
Was there a tipping point where you realised, or the squad in general realised, that things were going so badly wrong, and that the team were? Because I think it took the fans quite a long time to realise quite how much trouble we were potentially in.
Yeah.
And every week it's like we just need 1 point in this game, or we just need 3 points.
Or not get beaten off of Ross County, or not get beaten off of St Mirren, or it was St Mirren. We got beat 3-2 at home. That was the game. We were 3-0 down after half an hour, and we almost managed to get a point. I remember it now because we'd been on such a good run. We got St Mirren at home, who were struggling. Everybody was thinking, right, we're going to this game as favourites, we'll win this game. We were 3-0 down after half an hour. So after that, we go into the next games, and we're all still full of confidence, and we wanted to stay in the top 6 and maybe get even higher. But we lost a couple of games. I think, looking back now, it's easy to say, but Ross County basically changed their entire squad in that January transfer window. They made signings that got them goals, kept clean sheets, caught up with us, and every other team as well. And you've already mentioned the signings that we made, and you would question what impact they had towards the end of the season, helping us stay up. But also, obviously, with what happened with the players that we did still have, with the manager telling them that they could leave or they were no longer required, that obviously has a negative effect on morale and other things involving the team. So it ended up being quite a depressed place. When you're getting, I think we were getting 1 game out of 19, was it in the end? And that, no matter what league you're playing in, that's going to be an absolute disaster. And the way it worked out, it's just, I still can't believe it happened. But every week that's going past, you're saying we'll win this game, we're beating Motherwell 3-2 in the 93rd minute again, and they get an equaliser, we'll win the next game. You're thinking surely we're going to win one of the post-split games, and we just couldn't do it.
I think for a lot of Hibs fans, the derby at Tynecastle, where we could have potentially relegated Hearts and ended up getting beaten, I think that was where it clicked for a lot of Hibs fans. That actually
now we could end up being the ones.
Quite a lot of trouble.
Absolutely,
here.
Yeah. Again, it's another big call from the linesman, where Jordan Forster's at least 2 yards onside, and that makes it 1-1, and you're thinking luck isn't on your side. But like you say, after that game, that's when you go, we need to win a game here. We really need to win a game here. And then you got to start talking about how you're going to win a specific game. And the manager tried different things. He tried mentality training. He tried different tactics in different games. Just couldn't do it.
Yeah, because we've obviously, we've heard like say there's people who claim to be in the know about stuff. They know people who work behind the scenes of clubs, and they sort of maybe drip feed them information at times. We've heard the sort of stories about Terry Butcher, Maurice Malpass, and Steve Marcella. As a trio. Someone who really seemed to suffer under Terry, and he's never really seemed to recover, would be Alex Harris. In terms of, he seemed, when he first came into the side, that semi-final against Falkirk, he was bright, he was energetic, he was looking to take players on. Whereas I know he got a really bad ankle injury at the start of the season when he was still under Pat
Motherwell,
Fleming. And then when he came back into the side, he never seemed to get going again. Under Terry, what was the actual atmosphere like around the? We've all heard the sort of the bullying sort of statements that are thrown about picking on younger players, and players like James McPake and Kevin Thompson being told that they were no longer required and that they had to train away for the team.
That was never the case. There was never a separate training session for senior players or anything. But I think I've worked with managers in the past that pick certain players who they can shout at and who they can't shout at. You've got to sort of know who needs a kick, a bit of motivation, or a bit of an arm around the shoulder. And I think Alex, obviously coming back from his injury, still being a young player, lacking fitness, he got quite a lot of verbal abuse that I felt, knowing Alex and knowing his personality, didn't help him at all. Watching him, I felt for him, and I tried to speak to him a couple of times about don't listen to the abuse and stuff. You're still a good player. You need to show confidence. But when it's the man who's deciding the team, and he's the one that's being verbally abusive to you, it's very difficult for a player like Alex, who, like you say, hasn't quite reached that same level again. Everybody knows it's in there. Everybody knows he's got the talent to produce for Hibs if he'd get back involved with the first team there.
Yeah, I've met Alex a couple of times. I actually served him in one of my previous jobs, and he's. I was pretty much like, Alex Harris, I'm a Hibs fan, and I'm sort of trying to get stuff out of him, and he's even, he just seems like a really shy and quiet guy, likes to keep himself to himself.
Yeah.
He seems to me like he's one of these people who plays football because he's good at it. He's not necessarily a big fan of all the stuff that comes with being a footballer.
Yeah. He's not a confident, cocky individual, but he's got ability.
Yeah, like on the opposite side of the spectrum, you say Jason Cummins, even
he's got that ability.
Even the smile on your face says it. I think we all know what kind of boy Jason is. Yeah. And obviously Jason was
laps it all up, doesn't he? He laps it up.
Jason was in the team. He came into the team at that period. Was he obviously the sort of the way that he portrays himself just now? He's got a swagger about him. He's like we like to say he's a bit of a raj in terms of the fact that he doesn't care. All he wants to do is score goals.
Yeah, and that's what he's doing.
That's all he wants to do. Was he that sort of player when he first got involved with the first team as well? Because obviously he came from being, we've all seen the stories. He was a gardener, played for Hutchie Vale in the summer, to being signed for Hibs with a view to, being developed further down the line, and then sort of got, I think the strike, we had Paul Heffernan at the time, James Collins, Duncan Watmore had been in the team as well, but we just weren't getting goals.
Yeah.
Was Jason Cummins a sort of last throw of the dice? Do you think, in terms that no one knew what he could produce, so it could be a bit of a...
I was pleasantly surprised, because he came from the youths, and even in that period from the summer to I think it was November, that he actually made his debut under Terry, that I hadn't seen much of him in the first team training, in the 20s training, 20s games or anything, so I didn't know what to expect myself, but I thought he actually played really well when he first came into the team, and which is why he stayed in and around the first team. But he just could not score a goal. He had chances and he was unlucky with some great saves, hitting the post, etc. And it was just a little bit of bad luck. And obviously when he did get his goals, it was in the playoffs when everybody thought, we've scored 2 goals against Hamilton away, we're going to win it now, but it just didn't happen.
So when obviously there was a lot of questions about the atmosphere around the club at that point. One of the more baffling things that happened was that ESPN, not going to be BT, but the ESPN at the time showed up to cover the Kilmarnock game.
Yeah.
They got to the door and there was apparently Lord Petrie said to them, no, you're not getting in, we filled our quota.
Yeah.
Do you think that attributed itself to the whole atmosphere around the club, and that it seemed as if it was like we know we're in trouble, we didn't want any more attention than what we need? Or do you think that we should have maybe just let the game be televised, and there might have been a different atmosphere around the game in general?
No, that's not how I felt about it at the time. What were his actual reasons for?
Because we'd filmed, there was a certain amount of games that I think there was a certain amount of games that each club has to be shown on TV, and Hibs had reached their filth quota.
Right. No, I don't think.
Was that the game that Rod Petrie came down to do not a team talk per se, but came to speak to the players in the dressing room? So there was rumours about that too, that he'd come to speak to the players.
He never came down to the dressing room. No, at the training ground one day he came in. I can't remember what game that was before. Maybe before the derby post split that season. But he never done it at the stadium. Right. No, he left that to the manager at the time. But even in that Kilmarnock game, I felt we were the better team. And it was just the same old story. We just could not score a goal. I had a shot again myself that Craig Sampson somehow saved. And it just seemed to be the story of every game at that time. We just could not get a goal, and then somehow the other team got a goal out of nothing. Because Kilmarnock didn't have a single shot on goal, and then they scored.
That's what Colin Nick,
Chris Boyd, that's right.
He's seen, that was what we lacked, sort of Chris Boyd that can.
Somebody could just put the ball in the net.
Get a goal out of nothing.
Yeah.
And like you say about Jason coming in, he did play well, but it's a lot of pressure to put on an 18-year-old shoulders who'd been playing youth football the season
6 months previous.
All of a sudden, he's like, we're looking at him as if he's the saviour.
No, absolutely.
And obviously we go through Hamilton, results just didn't go our way. Like you say, we just couldn't score enough goals. We go through to Hamilton, who were playing well under Alex Neil at the time.
Yeah.
They'd finished the season with should have beaten Morton 10-1 or 10-2.
They did, yeah.
When Dundee just picked them on the last day of the season. So obviously they were going into the game with a bit of confidence. Jason Cummins picks the ball up 25 yards out, and like he said after the game, it was a zing, he opened up a tin of beans.
That's right, yeah, that's a famous old quote from him now.
And then he got the goal in the second.
I hit the post in that game as well. I was just thinking if that had gone in, I had a disaster spell. I only scored one goal that season, but I'd hit the woodwork and
a lot of posts.
And unbelievable saves and stuff. So I just think if that goal had gone in and we'd won 3-0, then obviously we would have stayed up. But again, we should have managed to see out the game at Easter Road.
What was the atmosphere like in the dressing room after the first leg? Was it pretty much a case of, because I know that like you say, Hibs fans are really passionate. After a game, if we've won a game, you don't find many supporters who, the whole stand, if we filled it or whatever supporters say, we stay and applaud the players. And after that it seemed, Terry Butcher was quite happy to let the players go away. He sort of stayed on the pitch and, walked all the way down, lapped it up, raised his arms and that. Do you think that was, looking back on it, do you think he was looking at it pretty much thinking getting back to Easter Road and it was job done?
No, I can only speak for myself and thinking that was definitely not the case, because that night we were not a good team. We scored 2 goals and we were 2-0 up, but Hamilton had a good few chances and were the better team. So obviously going back to Easter Road, my personal opinion was that it was going to be tough, especially if we were to make a mistake or to give them an early-ish lead in the game. If we can get to half-time without conceding a goal, then we'd be thinking, right, they've got 45 minutes now to see what they can throw at us. But with them getting a goal in the first half, they've obviously gone in and thought, right, we need one more goal here. And somehow it came in the 90 whatever minute.
As soon as Jason Scotland scored for Hamilton, that sucked the life out of the stands, because everybody it was almost like the script was written.
Dreading, yeah.
See what was going to happen.
It was just even the bizarre events that led up to that goal. Where I think Jonesy tried to clear the ball and it hit off somebody's shins, which would normally go 20 yards out the pitch, but it went right in front of him and he cut the ball back through someone's legs. Who was it that scored the goal?
Jason Scotland got the first one, then
Andrew, yeah, that's it.
Literally with the last kick of the ball in normal time.
He literally, if he caught that well, he would probably went straight at Ben Williams. But he scuffed it right through Lewis Stevenson's legs and off the post, and it just seemed like it was almost not meant to be, but just the circumstances that led up to that goal. I just fell to my knees and just could not believe what had happened.
Thought we're on such like a death dive at that point. It seemed just inevitable. Like, this is.
Yeah,
This is
because I had a chance just before that. I think it was Andrew again. He just had a chance and he volleyed it over the bar, and I thought, that's their chance. They've had it. They've blown it, and they managed to sneak another one. And somehow, the penalties, even the penalties, you're sitting there going, how could it have come to this?
Because what was the atmosphere like behind the scenes at that point? Because watching it from the stands, just watching the scene of horror from the stands, the body language of the players was quite something to see. The manager's body language and the way he was speaking to the players and the way the players were, almost seemed like people were arguing not to take a penalty. And you've got a young lad like Jason Cummins ends up missing the penalty that gets us relegated, and that really seemed at the time like he was being thrown under the bus. Like, what was the atmosphere like at that point? Was there any sort of leadership from Terry Butcher or any of the more experienced players in the squad?
I think I'm right in saying I think Kevin Thompson took another penalty, Ryan McGivern, Jonesy, I can't remember who else, but I mean those are the senior.
Evan and Jason both missed.
That's right, yeah. But I mean the senior players, those ones, I've never really taken penalties in the past, which I think I'd been subbed off anyway. But I just remember standing in disbelief and thinking, how has it come to this, firstly? And then we've got to do it now, because it's our last chance. I think Terry was talking about it leading up to post-split fixtures, about win a game and then see out the rest of the fixtures, which is what almost every other team did around the time. Kilmarnock, St Mirren and Ross County. We'll just get one win, and he said we're creeping closer to, we're running out of games now, one more win, and then before that game he's like, this is our last chance. And then before the penalty shootout he said the same thing, last chance guys, we need to do it. And Jason wanted to take a penalty. He stepped up and said, no, I want to take a penalty. It wasn't like nobody wanted to take one, and he said he wanted to take one. So he, sadly for him and obviously the club, he missed it. But I mean, that was
Jason
the one that decided it.
One player that has gone through that traumatic experience and come out the better for it. Whether it's sunk in or whether he's built character from it, I'm not sure. But luckily it doesn't seem to have affected him too much in his confidence or anything.
Nothing could. Nothing could.
And like you said about Alex Harris as well, obviously he comes on early doors in that game. Come on after like 7 or 8 minutes. I think Danny Haynes maybe went off injured or something.
Yeah, he broke his foot. I think.
And then 60 minutes in, Alex Harris gets taken off again. It's quite. It's quite refreshing to see that most of the stuff we've heard, especially regarding Alex Harris himself, is true. That Terry didn't manage him in the correct way. How looking at the rest? Everybody's
different, though, isn't it? Every manager's got his own way of doing things. Every player's got his own way of taking criticism or not taking it. Some people, if they're getting screamed at, can take it in a positive way and think, I'll show you sort of scenario, and others will just go into their shell and or somewhere in between. In the end, it is up to the player if he's going to play. Because if he does something that the manager says, well, he's got to play now, then there's nothing the manager can do. You've got to get him into your team.
And I don't want us to be hypocritical as Hibs fans, because I'd say a good 90% or 95% of Hibs fans were incredibly enthusiastic about Terry Butcher taking over. But this is what we need. He's going to kick them up the arse. This is it. This is like you'd find very few Hibs fans that were sceptical. There were a couple, but most were like, "This is exactly what we need."
I was delighted when he came in.
Me too. This is just what we need.
Everybody's got the image of Terry Butcher, with the bandage around the head, dripping in blood, so passionate. And it's like
1970, 80.
Playing for England, so just early 80s.
But then when you look at his actual managerial record, apart from Inverness, he's he was chased out of Sunderland, Coventry, only think Falkirk Stadium issues stopped Motherwell from going down. He went over to Sydney, got chased out of Sydney, and then seemed to strike it lucky with Inverness. What was obviously after the game there was the fans outside.
Yeah.
That's where for a lot of them finally snapped.
Yeah. We couldn't leave the stadium for I think 2 hours after the game.
What was the atmosphere like in the dressing room?
It was just sheer disbelief. None of us. I was looking at every player and thinking, how have we been relegated from where we were in the January, not even in the October, in the January.
I think even when it went up to the top 6, we were 1 or 2 points away from. I think it was like you say, that one.
Yeah, there was only 3 or 4 games.
Against Aberdeen, we see those games out.
Yeah.
And we actually finish in the top 6.
Yeah. No, I think that's the way it worked out, and then it was just my overriding emotion was that I can't believe this has happened to me at this club, that I've been part of Hibernian getting relegated. Like I said at the start of this interview, that it's such a big club, my first impression, and the fact that I've been involved in the club getting relegated, it is obviously a really low point in any footballer's career, relegation, but to do it with such a big club is a big disappointment, yeah.
Well, just one last thing, we'll talk about more cheerful things now.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
You were one of the few players that came to applaud the fans at the end of the game. I think it was only you and maybe one or two others. And that
relegation game?
Yeah, that after the Hamilton game. And that was something that a lot of the fans noted on forums and so forth after Scott Robertson came. Is that something you consciously did? Did you remember doing that, or were you in a daze at the time? Because you've obviously had a lot of ups and downs in your career. Did you feel like you built enough character to go and face the fans?
Yeah, most of them at Hibs, to be honest, ups and downs. But I think the fans, like I said, are so passionate. Win or lose, if you win, they're over the top, love you, and if you lose, obviously they're probably over the top, hate you. But they're your fans. I think as football players, you should really appreciate the fact that they've come to support you, win or lose. There'll be ones that boo you, there'll be ones that clap back, there'll be ones that tell you to get. But in my personal opinion, you should always win or lose, relegate. Last season in the playoff defeat to Rangers, every player went over to the fans, and the fans were great because I think they appreciated what we were trying to do, and obviously, and it was another disappointing outcome, but you've still got to show that you appreciate the fans coming.
Yeah, so that after that game, obviously there was Ian Dempster was already coming in. I think that was pretty much accelerated with the fact that we went down and there was meetings at East Mains the next game day. Did you get called? Were you out of contract?
No, I had a year to go. Yep.
So were you? Because I know there was players like James McCabe and Thompson were pulled in by Terry and told you're no staying. Go and find yourself other clubs. Did you go in for a meeting with Terry on the Sunday as well?
Yeah, everybody was called in. So every player.
Was there any indication at that point that Terry wasn't going to be in charge for the next game season?
No, not at that point. No, he was still the manager then. He was telling us about. I think we all got training programs, but I think almost every player was informed that basically if you could find a new club, you're probably free to go.
Is that the case for yourself as well?
Yeah.
Were you tempted?
No.
Do you have any feeling that I need to get out of this mess?
No, at the time I said as well that I wanted to stay in, like I said with Dundee, a little bit of guilt saying that I got them into that position, so I want to help them get out, and that's the way I felt at that time as well. So obviously I spoke to Leanne about it, and she said, well, that's not the case. You're on a contract and it's down to her. So yeah, that's the way that time period was. It was so mentally chaotic. Even trying to remember back to who said what and who was leaving at that time, and saying goodbye to people that could still be there but might not be. Staff as well. Obviously, we're getting relegated, and it was a horrible time.
Do you think that the club, obviously, because the following season, Alan Stubbs came in, but he came in relatively late. In terms of, we had, I think James McDonald was in charge for the first few days pre-season. We never had a goalie. Do you think that we could have positioned ourselves better to come up last season if the club had maybe acted a bit more swiftly in terms of either, because obviously Terry Butcher went away on holiday, Maurice Malpass went away on holiday. There seemed to be a case of it took too long to actually decide whether Terry was going to stay or Terry was going to go. Mm-hmm. And when it was, I don't think many fans would have, crowds at Easter Road last season were disappointing. But I think if Terry had still been in charge, they would have been a lot worse than what they actually were. Do you think we should have, once it became clear that Terry wasn't going to be in charge anymore, should the club have acted sooner and got Alan in a bit quicker?
I think it's almost easy to ask that question. I think Leanne was in charge of appointing the next manager, Leanne and George Craig, but I think they wanted to make the right choice rather than in 6 months' time or 9 months' time going, we've made a mistake here. I think they wanted to 100% get the right man, and I think, I don't know what your perspective on it is, but I think they have got the right man, and obviously the philosophy that he wants to play and the calibre of player that he's managed to bring to the club. I think they have done that, and I can only see the club now on an upward curve.
So what was your first impression when you heard that? Because obviously it's a different structure now. It's not, manager. It's, there seems to be an actual, like you say, philosophy and structure at Hibs, and that Hibs have sort of went to that more continental approach. It's very similar to what Hearts have got in place, where Craig Levine is a director of football. We've got George Craig as, I think, just head of football operations or something, and then we've got Alan Stubbs as the head coach. What was your first impressions of Alan coming in? So obviously that was you played under quite a few managers during your career.
Yeah.
Somebody like Craig Levine, who was almost at the opposite stage, in that he was quite experienced as a manager.
Yeah.
Whereas Alan Stubbs had only been with Everton under 21s.
Yeah.
What was your first impressions of Alan when he first came in, and what was your thoughts behind it in terms of, is he the man that can actually take us back to the Premier League?
Initially, you could tell it was his first senior coach role. But if I could go from when he first came in to the end of last season, the progress that he made as a coach and as a manager, making the tough decisions and obviously selecting team structure, tactics and everything like that, the improvement was noticeable. And I honestly think he's a very good manager that will go on, hopefully with this club, to greater success, and I'm sure in the future a really, really high profile position.
Yeah, so like you say, the start of pre-season was a bit, we never had a goalie, we never really had, there was a sort of influx of players that came in. Scott Allen was one of those, yourself, you stayed on, Jordan Foster had been pretty much thrown in at the deep end of the season before. Lewis Stevenson, the man, I think he's played everywhere for Hibs. You'll struggle to find any Hibs fan that's got a bad word to say about Lewis Stevenson. He's pretty much, he's the unheralded fan favourite, I think. But we started the season pretty poorly. In terms of we got beaten off Rangers in the Challenge Cup. I thought we pretty much matched them that night.
Yeah, I thought we were the better team.
Sent off.
I thought we were the better team,
The game against Hearts at Tynecastle, Liam Craig misses a penalty. Any other game that goes in,
I don't want to talk too much about that game, but another low point for me. But
you got sent off.
Sent off and gave away a penalty,
But that was the stage where it was. That was another one of the games against Hearts where we dominate them and they score it. It seems to be a running feature against Hearts. What was your thoughts on the way the team settled in the first sort of maybe 2-3 months of the season? Because obviously there was, looking back on the side, it was clear that Alex Harris was still suffering for that the treatment he had with Terry Butcher. I know Matty Kennedy came in on loan, but there seemed to be a sort of a change from playing. The team seemed to be very narrow. In terms of we went with that diamond formation. Was it easy to adapt to the fact that because you were sort of the sitter in that midfield, despite, myself personally, my view of you as a player is that you were more box to box.
I think that's fair.
I would see you as a more, like when you played at Dundee United in a two-man midfield, you would bomb back and forward, whereas at Hibs you were sort of, it seems as if you were told to be a bit more reserved.
Quite disciplined and sit and do my role.
How difficult was that a role to adapt to? When you're used to playing as a two wide men, and then all of a sudden you're the one, the sort of three pretty much.
It was difficult to try and fight the urge to run forward, because I would see some space and I think I could receive the ball in there and it would help the team out. But I know my role in the team was to sit in front of that back four and basically fill in for the fullbacks, who were the ones that the manager wanted to push on. So I don't know how, but somehow we still managed to get 6 goals from that position.
Your 2 goals against Rangers, the one of them, you were pretty much on the 6-yard line, the one at Ibrox when you scored that. I think you
Oh yeah.
won the ball on the edge of the box and played it out to David Gray. The cross came in. The Rangers' defence was just like they didn't know what to do, and you just.
I was there.
Scored.
I actually received the ball from, I think Dave. I'm not sure, somebody in that deep row, and just took a touch forward and just drove into the space. But the manager was he was very flexible. He did say that if I was to vacate that area, then another midfielder just had to recognise and fill in. And I think you were talking there about the start to that season. I think it's very much like the start to Alan's time in management, where he was learning. It was his first job, and it was a philosophy about passing and moving and keeping the ball and being neat and tidy. But then I didn't see the game last Tuesday against Falkirk, but I heard that it was a nitty-gritty performance. It wasn't great football.
No, it was very much at times. It was. I wouldn't say it was backs to the wall, but it was the sort of game that last season we wouldn't have won.
Precisely, yeah. And obviously he's realising that the 3 points are the main thing. And at the start of last season, I think it was a lot on trying to maintain possession and dominate teams. And whereas now, I think his mindset is obviously trying to keep up with Rangers. It's just 3 points as on that. Against us at the weekend with Raith Rovers, it was again a bit of bombardment into the Hibernian box, and we had a couple of penalty shouts, one real penalty shout. I had a shot myself cleared off the line, but they got the 3 points and they got over the line and the job done. So I think obviously as a manager he's realising that that's more important than sometimes the performance.
I think you're right there, especially when you look at, I mean, from our perspective as Hibs fans, where we sort of lost ground with Hearts was the fact that we were, say earlier on in the season we had the defeat away at Alloa.
Yes.
That's when Farid's injury problems really surfaced. I think he's done his Achilles, and I think it was his Achilles anyway on that.
That's right.
Pitch, scourge of many Hibs.
And then apart from that, we seem to be very comfortable against your Livingstons. I remember we went away to Livingston on a Friday night. I think you might have. I don't know if you scored in that game.
4-0? 4-0? No, I didn't score in that game, but no, I remember
that was a performance where we weren't very good, but we still managed to put 4 past Livingston. The games against Cow and Beef, the other games against Alloa, Livingston and stuff, we were winning comfortably. It was those games against Falkirk,
Raith Rovers,
Raith and Queen of the South. Where I think, I'm sure we done a show near the end of the season, Connor, where I sort of sat and went through all the games. In 12 games against those three sides, we won about. I think we won 2 games. 3 games. Whereas now, we've played Raith twice, and we played Falkirk once, and we managed to get 3 wins out of 3.
Especially the South as well.
I think the South. I think they're much different for last. They've obviously lost a lot of their key players for last season. I mean, even looking at Raith, I thought the team on Saturday, compared to last season, night and day. Obviously you'll know better because you played against and now playing for them. But I think even looking back to the time that when we beat them earlier on in the season, going into the game on Saturday, I couldn't believe that team was sitting second in the league. Because that day Easter Road, I don't think you were there.
I wasn't involved, no.
You weren't there at that point. But it was, the performance that they put on Saturday compared to the previous one at Easter Road, that one again was night. There seemed to be very much a philosophy in the game at Easter Road was sort of damage limitation a wee bit.
Right, okay.
Whereas on Saturday, as you say, second half, first half we were well on top. There wasn't so much chances. But the 2 chances that we got, we took well.
One's not even a chance, but it's an unbelievable strike.
And then second half, Ray McKinnon makes a couple of changes, brings on a couple more offensive thinking players. And like I say, last season, that team.
I was involved in one last season where we were 1-0 up at Raith Rovers, and
we would have been a bit
we lose 2-1 somehow.
Struggled to cope.
Christian Nadi.
That's right.
Another scourge of
Yeah.
Hibs.
Yeah.
But, you know, as we said last season, it was the sort of mid-level teams in the Championship that we struggle against.
Yeah.
But we played incredibly well against Hearts and Rangers. How does Alan Stubbs set Hibs up for these games? Like, how does he motivate the players? Because we pulled out some really excellent and unexpected performances last year against the top 3, top 2 teams that we were up against.
I can't speak for this season, obviously, but last season the work in the week is the same no matter who you're playing. You train really hard Monday, Tuesday. Players get to recover Wednesday, and then the Thursday, Friday is all about the game at the weekend. With regards to training, gym work. The Friday is not very much on the legs, but you do video analysis, and you get things like that where you're preparing the players mentally for whoever they're up against, and then the players it's all down to them. The manager's done his work Monday to Friday, and obviously his plan is to go out on the Saturday and
Does
get
he
the points.
emphasise like this is Hearts we must win, this is Rangers we must win this, or is it more to do with our position in the league at that point was an overriding factor in what we were playing against?
Yeah, obviously whoever you're playing, the main thing is to win. But there's different ways of winning games. You would definitely set up, say going away to Ibrox with change formation. We went 3-5-2, and you'd be saying we don't need to make so many forward runs. We don't need to dominate possession. But we need to make sure that their strengths are nullified, and then hit them on the counter attack like we did. I think for the second goal in that 2-0 win with Louis' goal. And that's obviously signs of good management where you recognise that you have a philosophy, but you need to win the game, and it's not about being the better team all the time. It's about getting the 3 points, and like Hearts have done so many times to Hibs, they've not been the better team, but they've won the game, and that's bragging rights, and that's all you really want as players, and obviously yourselves as fans.
Yeah, so obviously last season we pretty much had Rangers' number. You know, in the league encounters,
Yeah.
anyway. Apart from when Stuart McCall came in, did you feel more comfortable playing? Do you think we were a stronger team playing the 3-5-2 or playing with that sort of? Because the way we seen it is, we talked often on the show about it, is that when we played the diamond formation, there wasn't really that link between, you know, your typical number 10. You know, because obviously your one player in that would be Scott Allen, but Scott seemed to be very much prefer playing deep, where he could really affect the game rather than trying to be that link man between the midfield and the forward line. So what was your personal preference in terms of, you know, was it the diamond or was it the 3-5-2?
I like, honestly, most of my career before that I'd played 4-4-2, and that's how I generally played. But working with Alan, John and Andy last season, I just opened my mind up to obviously all these different ways of playing, and it just helped so much, and I enjoy playing both. Especially.
That you particularly thought we were maybe stronger, or do you think it was that we were stronger at using it against specific sides? Because obviously
Precisely, yeah.
we played the 3-5. The first time we played 3-5-2 was Rangers away.
Yeah.
When Jason scored.
That's
Jason
right.
scored
Yeah.
twice.
Yeah.
David
3-1.
got the other one.
That's right.
And then at Christmas time, when we skipped on 4-0, we played the Diamonds that day. Was it a case of just setting the side up? You know, was it more? It seems as if it was more a 3 at the back against the stronger.
Yeah, I think more away from home as well. Obviously, you wanted a solid core in defence, and it almost ended up a couple of times at Ibrox as a 5-3-2. I remember being part of the 3 in the middle and thinking, there's an awful lot of running here. But like I say, you're trying to nullify. Obviously, at that time it was Wallace and I think Foster or Darren McGregor, their fullbacks who were their main outlets and their main threats. And that's what we were doing. We were allowing them to come so far forward, stopping them in their dangerous areas, but then also being able to exploit them in behind their fullbacks. So for me, away from home, the 3-5-2 worked really well. Again, at Raith Rovers on Saturday, they went 3-5-2, and first half it worked really well. We got it wide. We were working on staying narrow against the diamond, and the way they went, they shaped up 3-5-2. So it totally nullified our plan, and then when we changed it, it kind of had a bit of an effect on it. So for me, I think away from home 3-5-2 suits Hibs. At home, they've got probably a bit more space. They're expected to go and attack a bit more. So that would be my opinion on it from last season.
Was there ever a point during the season where, you know, because obviously in what you say to the press, is mostly different to what you say behind closed doors. You know, in the press you want to maintain a positive, positive face. You don't want to look at the negatives. But what was the sort of point where you realised that Hearts just weren't going to get caught, and that we had to, you had to really start focusing on the playoffs and, more importantly, finishing as high up in the league as we possibly could?
All the way through the season, we were thinking we're going to hit a little stumbling block. We're going to have a couple of dodgy results away from. They seem to always pick up a 1-0 away at Alloa or a 1-0 at Falkirk. The fixtures where you're going, they might have a muck up today. They never seem to. And I think, I might be wrong, but at the end of January, I think they lost 3-2 at home to Falkirk.
That was their first defeat this season.
Yeah, the first defeat of the season, which is incredible. It's an incredible feat, but.
Well, it would have been their second if Ulster had stuffed it 40 yards.
True. That again is just one of those things in those games that you're just sitting there going, what is going on? But after that game at home to Falkirk, at home as well, obviously the first defeat at home, you're thinking, right, maybe now they'll start asking a couple of questions, maybe teams will fancy themselves a bit more. But then from then, they just kept winning again, and we're sitting there going, we need to hurry up and start losing if we're going to catch them. Because we were still trying to catch Rangers at that time.
So I think we were 10 or 11 points behind Rangers at one stage, going into that sort of last third of the season.
Yeah, so we were obviously focused on that first, but we're thinking, right, Hearts need to start dropping points. And obviously you're getting into February and you're thinking, right, there's only maybe, 15 games left of the season, if that. And then it just wasn't coming. You're thinking, right, now obviously they're talking about winning the league in a record time and stuff. You're like, we don't want that to happen. But that was gone, and then we were just focusing obviously on the playoffs.
So we did manage to finish second, and the squad, the coaching staff and the squad went away to, was it La Manga?
That's right.
You went to. Do you think it hindered us with the fact that we had such a gap between the last game of the season? Because obviously there was also talk about how the season was going to finish, because we had the semi-final against Falkirk.
That's right, yeah.
So to touch on the semi-final against Falkirk, that was another one of those games where everything we tied didn't go in, and then obviously they go up the park.
Yeah.
We really missed David Gray that day, because I was quite critical at the signings at that period, because David had quite a few injuries. We brought in Martin Boyle.
Yep.
And we brought in Keith Watson.
Yeah.
And it's not a criticism of those individuals, because I thought they both played their part really well, especially Martin. But it left us at a stage where if we were getting further on in the cup, both Keith and Martin were cup ties.
That's true. Yeah.
And with David having, I think it was his groin or his hamstring.
Yeah.
It's sort of, and when you look back at that game, the goal that we lost comes from, because it seemed as if it was Dylan McGeer that was playing as a sort of the wing back.
Yeah.
That day, and obviously he wanted to be more involved in the centre where he could have more impact.
Yeah.
And you look at the goal, and the header comes from. And it's not a criticism of Dylan, because he's been told to play a role, and he played it to the best of his ability that day.
Yeah.
But that's where we missed a proper right back in the game. That's where the cross came over and the goal went in.
Yeah.
But that game. Scott Allen hit the bar. We had numerous chances.
Fraser hit the post.
Jamie McDonald
again. Yeah.
More saves against us. Was that a real disappointment?
Massively, absolutely.
Given that who was in the other semi-final, was that seen as a real opportunity to? Because obviously we've been there the 2 years previous under Pat, when we played under the previous
the Celtic one, yeah.
Was that seen as a real? Was there talk in the dressing room at that time that this is a real chance at ending that Scottish Cup hoodoo?
I can't believe how many times I've heard that Scottish Cup hoodoo thing, and obviously when you get performances like that and results like that, where you're thinking it is just one of those things again, it does seem to start putting those questions in your mind, like what is going on with the Hibs in the Scottish Cup. But that I can't explain how much we deserve to win that game. I know there was a bit of bad blood between Peter and Alan after the game with the words back and forward. But I mean, I don't think Peter can honestly put his hand up and say that Hibs never had chance after chance after chance, and but that's our fault for not taking them. We had enough chances to win 2 games that day again, never took them. I think you'd learn from our mistakes.
It seemed to be sometimes a pretty much story of our season. Obviously, Jason and Dominique did get themselves a lot of goals. Especially when Dominique's probably on a par with Jason, given that he never joined and got up to speed until like sort of September, October time, and then he was away at the African Cup of Nations. It seemed as if, from our perspective as fans, that there was still that lack of a cutting edge at times. As prolific as Jason has been, and you look at Jason's stats, he's got, I think someone posted online the other day, he's got something like 33 goals and 78. He's now scored more goals for Hibs than what Lee Griffiths has.
Right, okay.
Which is incredible when you look at where Jason's came from initially. Do you think that's what did harm us at times last season? Was maybe like you say, that sort of Chris Boyd figure, in terms of someone who you knew was pretty much guaranteed goals in and around the box?
When you say that, I mean, he had a bit of a disastrous season himself at Rangers last season.
I was thinking more of his
maybe not the best command.
I understand. Yeah, I understand. I think, again, football-wise, I think Hibs played probably the best football last season. But what would you rather? Would you rather be the best football, or would you rather be a team that, when you get the tough fixtures, when they come up, you grind out that 1-0 win, or that last-minute winner when you're down 1-0 or something, you can come back and win 2-1. Obviously, you'd rather that. And sometimes I would say that, well, in my 2.5 years at Hibs, there haven't been too many performances where we'd ground out those wins. Either you don't expect, or sometimes you don't see them coming and you can get them.
I think you were our 3rd top scorer last year. You got 6 goals.
Yeah.
Which is, considering how deep you were playing, deeper than you'd prefer. I mean, do you see that as quite indicative? Did you think that we maybe needed some more goals from the midfield?
Midfield, absolutely. If I was to be a coach or a manager, I'd always put a big emphasis on goals from all over the pitch, because you should have a competition. Me and Liam Craig had competition between ourselves about who scored the most goals in the relegation season, and he won that quite handsomely. I think it was 9 goals to 1. And then again last season, where obviously I just managed to pip him. I think it was 6-3 or 6-4. But that just gets that little bit extra out of each individual. The centre half should be going against each other, the full-backs, the strikers, wingers, etc., just to try and get that little bit of competitiveness for players to really desire scoring goals.
It does seem to be something we've worked on this season, but the match review of almost every game last year could have been Hibs played some lovely stuff, but unfortunately just didn't have enough at the end of it.
And it is all about scoring goals and winning games, and that's the be all and end all when it comes to obviously getting promoted, which is what Hibs are aiming to do this season.
So on the sort of playoff games, I know you didn't play in the second leg, or
no.
You were an unused sub in the second leg. But where did it sort of go wrong for us in the first leg? Do you think that we maybe should have? Because I know that when we played the Diamond at home to Rangers and got beat 2-0, when there was a foul on Paul Hanlon that the ref never
That's
gave.
Right, yeah.
Kenny Miller finished it, and it seemed as if watching that game, it seemed as if we should have. I think they went with 3 at the back that day.
They did, yeah.
And then we just couldn't, for whatever reason.
Couldn't open them up, yeah.
I just couldn't cope with it. There seemed to be, in games like that, there was a lot of reliance on Scott Allen to be the one to sort of pick the locks. Do you think we should have, sort of first 15-20 minutes when we realised that whatever it was wasn't working, do you think Alan Stubbs is maybe, he tries to stick with what he prefers for too long before trying to change it, or do you think he's more open to change if things aren't going well? Because one thing that we noticed in the end of last season was that the team was very, there was a lot of consistency within the team, within the selection, and even the subs that came on. I think there was a period where Danny Handlin was on the bench and he never got on from the 8-9 weeks, because it seems that Alan had pretty much stuck to that. Is that the way that you see it, or?
No, I think it's hard. Obviously, there's mitigating factors with suspensions and with injuries and stuff like that, but if a team's winning consistently and the players are performing well, then you almost feel like there's not too much need to change, depending on where you're playing, who you're playing against. So the manager obviously went into that game thinking this was the best way of winning that game, and he must have, obviously, if you're saying that he never changed it after too long, he must have thought it was still working, and that's why he stuck with that.
Yeah, so the sort of went last about the land and I went off on a massive tangent, but that gap between the end of the season, the end of the league campaign and the playoffs, obviously Rangers went up against Queen of the South.
Yeah.
While you guys were away sunning yourself and
yeah, well that was it. We weren't actually sunning ourselves at all. It was a really hard training week. The sports scientist at the time, Craig Flanagan, said that we had to replicate, not match play, but to try and get
as close to it as you possibly could.
Yeah, get as much fitness out of that trip as possible, to try and keep up to match speed and stuff. So obviously we went away to a nice sunny place, but it was a lot of hard work while we were over there.
Do you think it would have been, looking back on it now, do you think it would have been maybe better for us to have finished third and played those 2 games against Queen of the South, so we were, because obviously Rangers then went into the game at Ibrox, where they'd won the 2 games against Queen of the South. Admittedly, they were quite lucky, especially in the second leg. They had a full, 50,000 at Ibrox.
Yeah.
They had the momentum behind them, whereas we'd obviously not played for, I think it was maybe a week or...
It was 18 days.
Aye, so 2.5 weeks. Looking back on it, do you think it would have been better maybe for us to have finished third, then maybe got those wins and carried that momentum into... Because obviously we would have then had Rangers at Easter Road in the first leg.
I think it's easy to say that, but if we'd managed to turn it around from the first leg, when, again, we were very good in the second leg when I wasn't playing. We were very good and we had enough chances again to win that game, then it would have been a different case anyway. But like you say, it's easy to look back with hindsight and say that, but there's no saying you would have got past Queen of the South, because like you said, the record we've had against Queen of the South that season wasn't great. So
even Motherwell, because you guys must have watched the Motherwell game afterwards.
Well, I never actually. I was gone.
Oh really?
No, I was not watching that. I wasn't interested in it at all. And obviously I checked the scores, but I was I say very surprised, but it was a bizarre scoreline.
Yeah.
It was a bizarre scoreline, but it just ended the way it had. It was quite surreal.
Did it mean a lot to you for your final, although you didn't play in the second leg, your final appearance at Easter Road? The team were being clapped off. It was a positive atmosphere, despite the fact that we'd lost. It was a full house and all the fans were behind the players. Did it mean a lot to you to end on that high note?
To the difference it was almost a year.
Yeah, absolutely, obviously. Yeah, I think in my mind I was still going to be there as well. I didn't think that would be my last performance at Easter Road. In my mind I was still going to be there, and there was no reason for me to think it was my last performance. So clapping the fans, obviously I was delighted with the fact that they weren't booing and they weren't disheartened, and they were still behind the players and the team and the staff. And then obviously the way things turned out, then it was my last performance. It wasn't even last performance there. It was my last time there, but I never performed. So
I think it was quite, there's times where you can sort of where teams, fans take to specific players. Like someone like Dominic Malonga, for example. He's got his own song, and the fans love him, but he seems to be one of these players that as soon as the game finishes, he's away down the tunnel. He's not.
All right, is he?
When he gets when players get subbed off, you see the ones that will applaud the free stands, or they'll just give a wee clap. Whereas with yourself, it seemed as if you had, like you say, you'd been there through the real low points, and you felt, like you did at Dundee, a bit of guilt. You wanted to help the club get back up. And there seemed to be a great affinity from the fans towards yourself. Did you feel that, like you say, you were a Dundee supporter growing up? Did you find yourself having a bit more affection towards Hibs over other clubs that you played for, given the way that the fans, the backing that you got during the season, and then, like you say, that final appearance at Easter Road against Rangers? Yeah,
I know there was a lot of low points from my time at Hibs, but I absolutely loved my 2.5 years with them. It was a lot of lows, but I could say I've still got some great friends there. I think it's a fantastic club, and they've got all the right people in all the right places now, and I could only see it going in one direction. It is a fantastic club to have been a part of, and I think it's only now that I'm away from the club, and obviously I had a disastrous period over in Romania, but that I'm sitting back now and I'm realising obviously how lucky I was to have played for Hibs.
So when did it become apparent that, because obviously that was your contract was up, and you said that were you expecting to be offered a new deal? Like, had you had conversations about previous to
the conversations had taken place before the playoff game. Nothing length of contract, financially, nothing like that. Just obviously like they're still interested in keeping me, sort of thing, and obviously with what happened with the game, the details turned to length of contract, wages, etc. And extremely sadly for me, I couldn't agree with the manager on that.
So did you get offered a contract and it just wasn't right?
Yeah, I was offered a contract. I was offered a contract that I felt I couldn't sign. I felt for the season that I'd had, I deserved a little bit more, not financially, but maybe in terms of length of contract, which I didn't want to find myself in the same position again. And from now 6 months' time, being out of contract again at 31, it's not a great age to be out of contract in this game.
Do you think that seems to be something that's occurring quite a lot, where a lot of players of your kind of level, playing for teams like Hibs, Dundee United and so forth, are just struggling with the instability more than anything else of these one-year contracts, and it's forcing some players even to go part-time and think, I'm going to have to get a second job because I can't, you've got a family or whatever.
Absolutely. I seriously, obviously coming back from Romania recently, that was my mindset, was I hope to get something in Scottish football, but if I don't, then I might have to go part-time and work in another field just to try and provide for my family. It is a horrible situation to be in when you're out.
Increasingly common.
It really is. It really, really is. It's not nice, but it's just the way the game is at the moment, and I'm experiencing it at the moment. Obviously with my ill-fated time in Romania, coming back here and everybody's saying to you, we've spent our budget, there's no money left, I'm really sorry, we'd love to have you in, and obviously coming here with Raith Rovers, the manager went above and beyond, he managed to make funds available. So
on your time in Romania, was it FC Botoșani?
FC Botoșani, yes, FC Botoșani.
What was it, because they were obviously in the Europa League, and it was quite a, when we sort of seen the news, it was like Scott Robertson signs for Romanian Premier League. What was it that attracted you over to Romania initially, and then subsequently what was it that actually went wrong? Because it's a pretty quick turnaround from you signing there.
I joined them in the middle of June, halfway through their pre-season, and it wasn't a trial. The manager wanted me, signed me on a 2-year contract, and did your family stay? My family stayed here after my whole adventure to Blackpool, making my wife give up her job and kids moving schools, etc. I wasn't prepared to move them, not just out of Britain, obviously, out of Scotland, out of Britain, Eastern Europe, where the way it turned out obviously would have been an absolute disaster again. So the whole plan was to leave them here. There's a winter shutdown there, so I would have got back at Christmas. But my agent sorted this move out for me, passed my details, my age, obviously my stats, etc. around, and then the club did the research on me, my age, my position, and the amount of games I played last season, etc. And they fancied taking me. So the manager at the time said that I would fit in perfectly to the way he wanted to play, and I was quite happy to sign for them, to try that again, leaving Dundee United, going to Blackpool, to try something different, try something new. And it's hard to try and describe the way things went and how long it took me to realise that things weren't going well. I didn't expect to walk straight into the team. I never do whenever I'm at a new club, and it took me a little bit of time to get up to speed, because I joined them halfway through their pre-season camp. But maybe after
new culture and new language to try and
and it was 35 degrees every day. It was very tough to try and adapt to that sort of climate. But I think it maybe took 3 or 4 league games for me to realise that first of all, the manager was a bit crazy. For want of a better word, he was pretty crazy. He accused me of being fat, and that I ate too much, and it's something that at Hibs last season, the sports scientist again, Craig Flanagan, said that I didn't have enough body fat.
As we can see for your
most people would recognise that.
Yeah, and it's something that I've carried about with me my whole career, is that I don't have enough body fat. I don't have enough. That's why I cramp sometimes. So for this guy to say to me that I was too fat and that's why I wasn't playing, I started saying to myself, does this guy know what he's talking about, or what's actually happening here? And then he started. There was no days off either. It was training every single day, then a game, and then right after it again, training every single day. I was there, I think, for 8 days in total, and I had 4 days off. And there was no physio, with no medical tape. It really was an eye opener into a different level of football. So I didn't expect any of that, obviously. And then it must have been about 6 weeks in where I was sitting there saying, I'm missing my family. I'm not getting a game, and like I said earlier on, I'm not one for sitting about taking my wages and happy. But I wasn't even getting my wages. I wasn't getting paid. So I was absolutely adamant.
Vladimir Romanov ended up or something. This sounds
you know
insane.
what?
This sounds like a crazy situation.
I was warned about it going over there, that this might happen. But I thought I might be different. Because we did our research, me and my agent, we did our research on this club, and apparently they're one of the 3 or 4 teams in Romania that are quite consistent with paying their players. But when I spoke to the president about it, he said, you're not playing, so you're not getting paid. So
was that the main impetus for you going out there? Was that financially it was going to make up for the discomfort it was causing you, or you just wanted to try something new? Did you?
I did want to try something new again, and it wasn't an absolutely ludicrous amount of money that I moved over there for. It was a comfortable wage that would provide for me and my family, some nice holidays, etc., and then pay the bills. But the fact that I wasn't playing, like I said, I want to play football, I wasn't getting paid, and the fact I was away from my family, me and my agent did everything we could to get me out of there before the window shut.
So, because obviously you hear all the horror stories about players that do go abroad, and for one reason or another it doesn't work out, and trying to get their release from them is a nightmare. Was it relatively straightforward for you to get away from them?
Yeah, because they wanted me out as well. Because they said that they weren't going to pay me from ever to December. They said, we're not wanting to pay you from now until December, so we're not going to pay you, and we're not wanting to pay you, so you sign this and we'll let you go. So
you were more than happy to just get yourself
absolutely get myself out of there, yeah.
So what was looking back on, obviously hindsight's a wonderful thing, but based on the experience that you had in Romania, do you look back and wish that you'd taken the contract that Hibs had offered you, or do you think that maybe obviously it's all hindsight, you could have signed the contract with Hibs and we could have plummeted, or Stubbs could have left? Anything.
Yeah, again, it's that whole thing with hindsight where I don't regret leaving Dundee United when I did. I regret going where I did, to Blackpool, because I had other offers at that time that I made the wrong call. And again, I don't regret leaving Hibs when I did, because for the reasons that I did.
You just regret going
to Romania. Yeah, and the way that my career's, obviously, that's how that's affected my career. So
obviously now you're now at Raith Rovers. How have you? I mean, it seems to me you've pretty much slotted straight in there. How long's your contract? How long are you with Raith for? Is that until the end of the season?
Yeah. Like I say, the manager did unbelievable to get me in here with new investment, because again the club had spent their budget, but he really wanted me in, so he went above and beyond and got some investment and got me in until the end of the season, because I'd played for the Romanian team. So I had to sign until the end of the season, because you only play for the 2 teams in one season.
So do you see the way things are going at Raith just now? Do you see as that being your sort of next stop in your career, or are you just going to wait it out until the end of the season and just see what
absolutely,
happens?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm really happy here. It's very close to home. I could tuck my kids into bed every night, and I'm back with my family. I've got a job. I'm getting paid. I'm playing again, which is everything that I wasn't getting a couple of months ago. So
Raith are playing well this year. You've had a fantastic start, so that must as well been part of a successful team.
Yeah, but from what I've heard, we haven't actually played all that well, but we've been getting results, which is what I was talking about earlier. That's what it's about. So if we can actually start playing well, then I'd like to think we'll get even better results and stay in those playoff positions, which would be a massive achievement for a club like Raith Rovers.
How would you feel about going up? So you're through on goal last minute, Easter Road to put Raith into the playoff.
I hope that's not a scenario that ever develops, because I hope Hibs can catch Rangers and get automatic promotion.
It's going to be
Raith will come up with
I like that scenario. Hibs to catch Rangers.
So what's your? I know you say you're waiting until the summer, but what's your sort of? Have you started thinking about your life after football, or are you looking to get your coaching badges, look to progress into management?
Yeah, I've already got my B licence. I do look to continue that, and maybe start my A licence next year or something, maybe with the children, I don't know. But I definitely want to stay involved in football. It's been my life for the last 15 years, 25 years, but obviously professionally for the last 15 years. So it's definitely something I want to stay involved in. I feel like I've got a lot to give back, and it's something that I'm quite passionate about as well.
Do you have a plan B? Just like if something. Have you ever thought, like in these moments when you were injured or things weren't going right, have you ever had like kind of alternative avenue that you could have followed up?
Nothing seriously. No, I've never actually. My dad was a policeman, so I mean, I'd like to think I'd maybe go and join the police. Not that it's that easy just to go and join the police, but it would be an avenue that I would seek out, I think.
We've got a lot of footballers do that actually.
Well, yeah, I know a lot of them have done, yeah.
Or drive a taxi, seems to be quite a lot of...
That's true as well, yeah. I know a lot of ex-players, ex-teammates.
We just had quite a few questions from fans on forums and so forth, and we've gone through most of them obviously just throughout the course of our conversation that dovetailed. There's just one thing that we haven't covered that I know a lot of Hibs fans are interested in. What do you find training like at East Mains as a professional? How do you find the setup there with the Hibs training ground and compared to other places that you've been?
Oh, it's the best I've had by far. Pretty much everything's on site. The pitches are really good. The only thing that has a little bit against it is when it's a windy day, you can almost do nothing because it's so open that when the wind's on, it's really tough to do any sort of training. There was a few sessions had to be cancelled because of it, but no, the training base itself it's incredible. It really is. I love my time there. I know I lived in Dundee and I drove on the drive every day from Dundee to East Mains, but I kind of miss it now.
Because a lot of Hibs fans maybe it's this thing you were talking about, Hibs fans overreacting to things, but it almost seems as soon as East Mains opened that our fortunes took a turn for the worse. John Collins quit the next morning. Since then things have got. So I mean, people often see like the new East Stand or the training facilities at East Mains as this kind of curse or this white elephant, which is a shame because we've got these brilliant facilities.
It really is, and it would attract better players to the club, and that's what it's about. It's not about the facilities. If you have the right people in the right positions, then the club will be successful. And maybe that's the reason that it hasn't been in the past, is because you've not had the right people in the right positions, i.e., I don't know, players, managers, coaches, behind the scenes, etc. Whereas now I think there are players, coaching staff, Leanne, etc., George, that obviously have, I think, the club's best interest at heart and will take the club forward and to future success.
I think that's a big thing for us as well, and it seemed as if Leanne's that sort of white knight that we've been waiting for to, and it didn't necessarily have to be Leanne herself, but someone that, because one of the criticism levelled at Hibs is that Lord Peachey isn't a football man.
Yeah.
He's a businessman. He's there. Sir Tom Farmer owns the club. Lord Peachey's there to look after the club, and a financial side of things. And I don't think that anybody can argue that Lord Peachey's been incredibly successful with Hibs financial wise. In terms of, you look at, I know we got relegated in '98. Not long after they've been at the club, but you look at the way that the club's developed, the money that we brought in for players like Thompson, O'Connor, Whittaker, the stand, well, both stands, actually in the training centre as well. It seems as if now that, you know, the criticism was that for a lot of Hibs fans that don't go to games still, is that they won't go while Petrie seems to be running the club. I don't know what, you know, from you being at the club, does it seem to you that Leanne's you know, anything that goes on the sort of footballing side of things, or even just at the club in general, that, you know, the buck stops with Leanne?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, she's quite big in the decision making side of it now. So I know she's done well at Motherwell in the past. So with her being now at Hibs, I like to think that she'll be the one to help the club. I think Graham Mathie's gone in there as well. I think he was with Motherwell, head of player recruitment. Again, as somebody who's done well for Motherwell and come in to Hibs, and again has done very well in player recruitment. So these people that have a proven track record of success can hopefully have that same proven track record with Hibs.
Seems like as good a place as anywhere to wrap it up. Thanks for your time, Scott. That's been a really interesting interview. Thanks for all your honesty. And,
yeah.
You know, for answering
Try to be as honest as I can.
questions. There were some dark times, but I think you definitely left on a high, and you know, you're very fondly remembered by the Hibs support.
If you're ever back for a happy heavy half-time draw, I'm sure you'll get a warm applause for the crowd.
Good.
But no, like Connor says, thanks very much for your time, Scott, and we wish you...
Thanks guys.
Obviously, hopefully Hibs are above you, but
yeah,
we wish you and Raith Rovers all the best for the rest of the season.
I appreciate that. Thanks guys, you too.
Cheers.